Message to Republicans, conservatives, and those Americans actually living life rather than protesting life from the cocoon of a trust fund or mommy's basement. The far left and the anarchists it sends into the streets to enforce its doctrine will never stop. Ever. As we are now seeing, eradicating monuments and names affiliated with the Confederate South is just the beginning. The National Cathedral in Washington, D.C., being the latest to choose political correctness over American history. With each passing day, the list of symbols of our American history which does offend the left and the anarchists and must be censored or destroyed grows. What are their ultimate targets? For the 20 or so years I worked in and around Washington, D.C., be it at the White House, the Pentagon, or in the private sector, once every few months for those 2 decades, I would set aside a few hours of my time to visit the National Archives and simply stare in wonder at the founding documents of the United States of America. I would look down upon the Declaration of Independence, the Constitution and the Bill of Rights and marvel at the genius of the Founding Fathers who not only authored those documents, but who risked all they had, including their very lives, to establish our nation. Not surprisingly, the removal or destruction of our founding documents is now the ultimate target of a growing number of anarchists on the left. Why? For some on the far left it's because many of our founding fathers who authored these documents were slave owners. For others on the far left, it's because our founding fathers were white. For others on the far left, it's because many of our founding fathers were wealthy for their time. And still for others on the far left, it's for all those reasons and more. With regard to the issue of slavery, nothing is more wrong, nothing is more disgusting, nothing is more immoral, nothing is more dehumanizing, and nothing is more obscene than slavery. Period. Especially when viewed through the prism of the year 2017. But when viewed through the prism of the mid-1700s, the disgusting, immoral, dehumanizing, and obscene practice of owning slaves was tragically the norm in many parts of the world. Knowing that to be the truth, does viewing that time period through the prism of 2017 invalidate the genius of our founding fathers? Does it render their sacrifice meaningless? Does it make the founding documents they authored to establish our nation parchment now to be scorned? Or even burned? If a time machine were available, who would not want to go back to right the wrong of slavery and so many others? But none exists. We can't go back and fix it. Knowing that reality, how do we deal with the ugly and quite dangerous new reality which is blossoming today before our very eyes? A dangerous and truly totalitarian reality created by some on the far left, and encouraged by the silence of those who know better, which literally now screams at the top of its lungs with faces twisted by hate that the monuments, statues, names, and founding documents which catalog and memorialize the history, good and evil, of our nation, must now be torn down, sandblasted, burned and never spoken again. Where does it stop? What is next? Who is next? Which men and women of reason will speak up to stop this madness before it spirals out of control? Is the day soon coming when I will go to the National Archives to visit our founding documents and find their cases empty? The documents removed and maybe even burned by cowardly leaders too afraid to stand up to a mob mentality looking to eradicate the history of the United States of America. Far-fetched. The alarming censorship and destruction of the last few weeks says otherwise. McKinnon is a former White House and Pentagon official and an author,